From the infamous Sony hack to the ongoing use of social media as a recruiting tool by ISIS, cyber threats to U.S. security are growing in number and sophistication. Lisa Monaco serves as assistant to the president for Homeland Security and Counterterrorism. She delivered an address on the Obama administration's strategy in response to these threats and discussed the situation with Wilson Center Director Jane Harman. That's the focus of this edition of Rewind.
People pay lip service to the cyber challenge. Lisa lives it. Before this job, Lisa was the first Assistant Attorney General for National Security, who happens to be a woman. She clearly got excellent training for her various positions at the start of her career as an intern with the Wilson Quarterly. So from our point of view, this is a homecoming, and it comes as both the White House and Congress are seeing where they can have a significant impact on the enormous cyber challenge.
As the President's Homeland Security and Counterterrorism Advisor, I brief him every morning on the most significant, destructive, and frankly horrific threats facing the American people. I am oftentimes, as the President reminds me, the bearer of bad news. Since I began this job 2 years ago, I can tell you that an increasing share of the bad news I deliver is unfortunately on cyber threats. In just the last 9 months, we've seen a growing list of high-profile targets: Home Depot, JP Morgan Chase, Target, Sony Pictures, CENTCOM, and the U.S. Postal Service, to name just a few. And inside the United States government, we know that state and non-state actors, terrorists, hackers, and criminals are probing our networks every day, seeking to steal, to spy, to manipulate, and to destroy data. You've got groups like Anonymous that thrive on creating disruptions on companies' websites and leaking personal information online. You've got groups like the so-called Syrian Electronic Army, which conducts cyber attacks in support of the brutal regime in Syria. And then there is ISIL, which has harnessed social media for a propaganda machine that's radicalizing and recruiting young people to their hateful message around the world. In short, the threat is becoming more diverse, more sophisticated, and more dangerous. And I worry that malicious attacks like the one on Sony Pictures will increasingly become the norm, unless we adapt quickly and take a comprehensive approach, just as we have in other contexts. I can tell you that there are structural, organizational, and cultural shifts that were made in our government in the counterterrorism realm that also apply to cyber. We need to develop the same muscle memory in the government response to cyber threats as we have for terrorist incidents.
Hi, Claire Casey, Garten Rothkopf. I was hoping you could comment on the December attack on the German steel mill. Is this the beginning of a new era of cyber attack where it's actually causing damage to physical assets or potentially people? And does that change the game? Do we have the right tools for that?
So you're on to something here, and this I alluded to it and actually spoke directly to it in my speech, which is the North Korea attack on Sony Pictures Entertainment was, as I said, a game changer because it was both destructive and coercive. This is incredibly destructive, obviously, and it has a huge impact on economies, on bottom lines. And that is the thing, as I said in my speech, that is probably the most concerning to me. That and what I would say is another element of destructive cyber behavior is manipulating and leaving an impact that makes us question the integrity of data when you don't know what has really happened. And so you lose trust and faith and confidence in the data that's there.
The black market for exploits and malware is growing.
Yeah.
Please do not tell us precisely what you're doing about it, because then people will work around that. But can you assure us that you're doing all the right things and finding and getting rid of the exploits and the malware that is available for sale for cheap on the black market?
This hacker for hire approach, this the criminal networks that can and are behind a lot of this malicious cyber activity is something that we're very focused on and is not something people should be underestimating.
For more information on directors' forums and other Wilson Center programs and initiatives, visit wilsoncenter.org.